Before we say anything about sports, Sean, turn your mic on. Tiki Barber, happy birthday to you.
Thank you. You guys suck at singing
Happy birthday. That's it?
Hey,
Sorry.
love you guys.
All right. Happy birthday, Tiki.
Boy, he's really getting cranky with his old age.
He certainly is.
I am the Grinch.
We got a lot to talk about today. The Yankees and Mets are engaged in a PR war based on what time they should start their games. The great Connor Hughes will join us coming up at 12 o'clock. We got a new edition of Posted and Toasted, where Tiki guesses the old tweets of our fellow WFAN coworkers. But yesterday, we got the news that Dexter Lawrence wants out. And there's a lot of ways this can unfold right now. How are the Giants going to handle it? How nuclear is Dexter going to go? Just so you know, today, beginning like somewhat in the next few minutes, I guess, the Giants are having their voluntary workouts. Okay, so you're not legally obliged to go.
Right.
Most guys do show up, especially with a brand new head coach. Dexter Lawrence won't be one of them. But there's one thing I want to read to you before we opine on this and get deep into the Giants, the Jets, Mets, Yankees, and everything else today. I was reading the New York Post this morning. Paul Schwartz does great reporting.
Fantastic.
Listen to this paragraph about Dexter Lawrence and why he's demanding a trade. You know, my assumption has always been money. I think we all agree it's probably money. But I want to read this paragraph to you because it kind of pissed me off. I got to admit.
And you're not even a Giants fan.
No, but I call things the way I see
Yeah.
it. One source close to Lawrence cited his contract, consistent losing throughout his career, and frustrations with roster management, including the hardline tactics taken with his close friends, Leonard Williams, Julian Love, and Saquon Barkley, all of whom have won Super Bowl since leaving New York, as reasons for his discontent. Like,
Come on.
you're telling me that you're upset about Saquon from 2 years ago, Leonard Williams from 2 years ago, the constant losing, which, by the way,
Julian Love,
like, the losing you would think is done. You just hired a Super Bowl winning head coach. The first part, I completely understand. Contracts, we'll get into it in a second. But that other stuff, Tiki, feels like garbage.
Yeah, look, it's an excuse. It's a convenient one, but it also makes it sound like Dexter Lawrence feels like he missed out because he got paid here. Everybody else got paid elsewhere, and they also won a championship. And so it's not necessarily the roster management. I think it's coaching, to your point. It's not having the right dynamic from a coaching standpoint, which causes things to fall apart. And then ultimately, you have to make tough decisions when your team isn't winning. And so I hear what Dexter's saying, but it feels like a bogus excuse. It feels like piling on for no reason.
Yeah, it's one reason, Dexter, and it's okay to say it because it's a complicated issue.
Right.
It's about the money. It's about the fact that even though you didn't have the greatest year last year, you were grossly underpaid.
Yes.
And that's fine. Say it loud, say it proud. I'll say it for you. Your contract is past due. And so your discontent is about that.
Right.
But to cite, and I'm not saying it's Dexter leaking this to the Post, it's probably his agent, people around him, but to leak out that Julian Love and Saquon Barkley is a reason for your discontent, it really does feel bogus. And even the lack of winning stuff, they just went out and hit a grand slam home run in the coaching hire.
Right.
You would think that Dexter
You got a
Lawrence,
quarterback finally.
yeah. You would think he's happy about the current state of the franchise. So it did feel like he's looking for other reasons to not be happy.
Yeah, and look, this is it was different for me when Coach Coughlin came in because we had success with Jim Fossil. And we went to a Super Bowl, and we had a couple of those years where it felt like this could be that team, right? Including his penultimate one where he ended up losing in the wild card round out in San Francisco. So it never was, man, we stink. We need a new coach. It was, maybe we need another view of how to create success. And then Coach Coughlin comes in, and I got to tell you, while as daunting as it felt to have to deal with his, let's call it pain in the assness, which was ultimately led to ultimate success, it was almost refreshing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was almost like, all right, there is now an accountability for all of us in a way that maybe we don't necessarily like, but it's going to be good for us. And so when you get a John Harbaugh, just like when we got a Tom Coughlin, if you don't see that and what you see is I want to go win someplace else, then what the heck? Like, it makes Giant fans say, well, get the hell out of here then.
Well, it's funny you say that. So yesterday, this news broke late in our show, let's say about 12:45. So we digest it. We give our thoughts on what should happen, what may happen. But I've also been trying to do my best to read the tea leaves. I listen to Sean Morash's 2 Giants podcasts. I may listen to other Giants podcasts.
Good for you.
I interact with friends of mine who are Giants fans to get a vibe on what the Giant fan is thinking. And I have an observation that to me is fascinating. It's fascinating about sports and our mindset. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, Sean, as the host of 2 Giants podcasts, as you being the Giant legend, Tiki. I get the sense that a lot of Giant fans would be okay with trading Dexter Lawrence, where it would be, all right, you know what? If you don't want to be here, you're coming off a bad year, you weren't in the greatest shape in the world, fine, we'll trade you. Not that you're kicking him to the curb,
right?
But there seems to be a wide openness to the idea of the Giants saying, we're going to move on from you. Is that a fair observation?
I think it's a fair observation, and I think it's rooted in a couple things. I think Giant fans, I don't think all of them, I don't even think a majority of them, but I think a vocal minority turned on Dexter Lawrence last year.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, the moment Carl Banks ripped into him, I think that perked a lot of people
Carl
up.
was the Pied Piper?
No, because I think I think it made people feel comfortable. Like, people watch, people feel like Dexter Lawrence was, not the same Dexter Lawrence. And you hear Carl Banks say that last year, and it made people feel like, okay, what I'm seeing, another guy who we trust is believing in this. But beyond that, Evan, the John Harbaugh thing represents something new for Giant fans and something refreshing, which is, this is like a clean slate, right? We're turning the page. This is the one-off season where no matter what Harbaugh touches, we buy in and we believe it's good as gold. If there's ever a year to trade Dexter Lawrence and he wants out and Harbaugh stamps it off, that's why Giant fans are like, good. Then we will restart this thing without you because we are excited for once. And while you've lived the losing as a player, we as fans have also lived this losing. And we want people who want to be here for the new start. If you want out, get out because we're going to be here as well. And I think that if Harbaugh wasn't here, I'm not sure Giant fans would side with the Giants in this.
Right. They would understand Dex.
Yes. And I think because Harbaugh's here, it's like, no. Then get the hell out if you don't want to be here.
That may be the answer to a question I have about this because Dexter Lawrence has been a better Giant than Odell Beckham Jr. was as a Giant.
Ironically enough, traded for each other.
They were, yes. That was one of the picks that the Giants got back from Cleveland, turned into Dexter Lawrence. I'll never forget that. But would you guys agree that, like, if we're just, let's say Dexter never plays another snap for the Giants again, and we're just talking about their Giant careers, and I get they play completely different positions.
I don't know, man. Those first 3 years from Odell were elite.
Oh, and Dexter wasn't elite?
He was, but you don't feel it as much. You left those first couple years, 3 years with Odell Beckham, and he was your favorite player, and it wasn't even close. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I also think sexier position helps Odell.
Well, I think that
100%.
That's a big part of it.
And so I think there is an appreciation for Dexter Lawrence and how great he is and was, but that last year it felt like he didn't care. And I don't think you ever got that with Odell. You got like disgruntledness and pain in the assness, but when it came time to strap on a football uniform and go on a football field, the dude was balling no matter what.
But even though it's not the same based on the trying factor, the last 2 years of Odell Beckham Jr. as a New York Giant were not nearly as good as the first 3 years. Now, injury had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But
I think you had an excuse.
You did, but you also could have we've seen the best of Odell Beckham Jr., which I guess some Giant fans are saying about Dexter Lawrence. I also think that Dexter Lawrence, pound for pound, no pun intended, was a better Giant than Saquon Barkley was. And yet, I think the emotion, and maybe you answered it based on the sexiness of the position or the fact that he was kids' favorite player and they'd run around with their jersey.
Right.
It feels like getting rid of Dexter Lawrence is a lot easier to many Giant fans than it was getting rid of Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr., even though for my money, I thought Dexter Lawrence was better at what he did than those two guys were at what they did. And it's not to put them down, and they play very different positions, and one's sexier than the other. I get it all. But it feels like, and maybe John Harbaugh is the reason, like moving on from Dexter Lawrence feels less emotional to Giant fans than it was getting rid of and trading Odell Beckham Jr. and losing Saquon Barkley.
I think part of that is because Dex disconnected us from him last year.
By the way he played last year?
By the way he played.
That's a great way of putting it.
The disgruntled nature of his season. It felt like it allowed us to separate ourselves.
Yeah, you know what, Tiki? That's a great way to put it, because when you reflect on last year's Giant team, in a weird way, as bad as the team was and they won 4 games, Giant fans found newfound excitement in watching the team because of Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo.
Right.
And it just felt like this was new. It was refreshing. And watching Dexter Lawrence feel like, at least to us, looked like he was half-assing it at times.
Right.
He just didn't capture the same energy that Giant fans were capturing, which was this bottled up new energy. And it just kind of felt like the stank of the disease of losing was all over Dex while we were trying to move on with our lives in the Jackson Dart era.
Agreed.
And it was a turnoff.
It feels that no matter what you say next about, well, let's not trade him, let's hold on to him, no matter what you, Tiki, and what you, Sean, say, I think your previous answers tell you how you feel. You are ready to move on from him. Even if your strategy is not to do it, the way you just described all of that, which I think is fair.
And by the way, think about the people who are making the decisions here. And this is Harbaugh, who is new to the Giants. It's Joe Shane. It's Don Aponte. It's like it's the organization itself, the mayors and the executives, the scouts, etc. They also have likely the same reaction as we do. It's like man, he's such a great player. I want him to be successful here. But if you don't care about us and you're going to start talking trash about us, then why do we want you here? We paid you, dude. It's not like you're underpaid. It's not like you're on your 5th year contract.
But he is underpaid.
Of course he is. But I would argue he's paid to how he played last year.
Well, last year, yes.
But that's all that matters.
But to the previous
you
years.
are what you have most recently done.
Yeah.
Right? Not what you should be doing or what your potential is, because that's a dirty word when you don't live up to it. It's you are worth what you've done and what you're currently doing. And what he currently did is not $21 million a year, right? He doesn't deserve to be at $31 million a year, which I think is the peak right now of defensive tackles. And so he wants to be there, but you got to earn it, man. Earn it. And he didn't earn it last year.
Today at about 1 o'clock, John Harbaugh is going to meet the media. Not because of this, but because of the fact that the Giants are having their non-mandatory day where I guess they watch tape and they have meetings and they give each other high fives. There's no actual practice, but it's non-mandatory. And so we obviously know Dexter Lawrence isn't going to show up based on the fact that he's demanded a trade, not coincidentally, 24 hours prior to this. But John is scheduled to meet the media at 1 o'clock. And this is his first test.
Yeah.
This is his first, you want to call it a crisis? Maybe that's too much.
I don't think it's a crisis.
It's something.
I think it's an inflection point.
An inflection point.
Where we are now going to understand how he will handle issues like this.
And how should he handle it? Because I don't think he's going to be a hard ass. I don't think he's going to say what you said, which is all fair, which is, hey, Dexter, you're under contract and you sucked last year. Come out here and earn it. I doubt John will say that. So what approach does he take?
He will say, Dexter Lawrence is a great player and we want him to be a Giant. And, you know, I don't know if he's going to talk about conversations that they've had. I doubt that they've had any.
Well, according to that New York Post report, they are not actively talking about a new contract. So it's not as if, like with the Jets and Breece Hall, they're talking about a contract. The Giants aren't talking about it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about John Harbaugh as Dexter Lawrence's coach.
Gotcha.
Not John Harbaugh as a de facto general manager.
Right.
This is you as just like Evan Neal had this conversation with John Harbaugh, where Evan Neal told John Harbaugh, "This is how I'm going to be great. This is my plan for how I'm going to change the narrative about me." And we saw the thirst trap video that we talked about last week with him working out, looking slim, busting his ass and grinding. And it feels like, oh, great. He had a conversation with his head coach, and his head coach helped put him on this path. It was no different than when Tom Coughlin came in and he told, "Hey, Deke, I don't care how great you are. If you fumble, you're not playing." So I was on this grind to fix my fumbling issue with Gerald Ingram, my running back coach, and you could feel it. I don't know if he's had that kind of conversation with Dexter Lawrence. I would guess not. But if he hasn't, that's the question you need to ask is, have you talked to Dex? And if you have, what were the conversations like? Not as GM John Harbaugh, but as your head coach, John Harbaugh.
John sort of dealt with this a couple of years ago because remember Lamar Jackson was going to hold out. And eventually everybody was happy. The Ravens gave him a brand new contract.
Very different situation because he hadn't been paid.
Very different situation. Right. And here's the reality. Because I think as a Giant fan and obviously the Giants organization, there are basically 3 distinct options on how you want to handle this. Option number 1 is to give in, make them happy, work on a new contract, get him into camp. He's smiling. You hope he's in the best shape of his life.
By the way, that's
he has a big year.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay, that's option number one. Maybe the likeliest scenario if you want to rank it. Number two is they trade him. Number two is they start to take phone calls. Someone makes an offer that they feel is good enough to move on from him for, and they deal him away. And option number three is they stand tall and they say, dude, you got 2 years left on your deal. And here's the reality, because let's not get this twisted. Dexter Lawrence is not missing games due to a holdout. That's not happening.
Yeah, I can't
see
that
if
either.
we ever play this game of who has the upper hand, the Giants clearly have the upper hand, in my opinion, because
he's under contract.
He's under contract, and he's not holding out. You want to tell me he's holding out of a non-mandatory minicamp? Sure. You want to even tell me he's holding out of training camp? It may happen, but eventually he's going to play football.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the prime of his career. He's due to make money. He's not going to sit out. So if the Giants want to handle it that way, and it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, because John Harbaugh will be asked a million questions. Dexter's teammates unfairly will be asked a million questions. And so it would be this cloud hanging over the Giants. It's certainly not the best case situation. But if the Giants stay firm,
right,
let's not get this twisted. Dexter Lawrence will eventually show up and play football.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, and here's the other thing to think about. And this is on a personal level. Dexter Lawrence is very close to creating himself as a villain. Like very close. We know he's a good dude. We see the smile, you see the sack the dance that he does. Like there's an affection that you have for how he plays and how he presents himself or how he is presented, our perception of him. But he is getting very close to becoming a Giant villain. And that's not somewhere fun to be.
Does he care, though?
I don't know, but he should.
We'll get to your calls coming up, 888-808-1019. As a Giant fan, you got three options. What do you want to do? Just give in and give him a contract? Trade his ass? Or dig in for a long battle? Plus, we'll get into why yesterday's Nick victory felt and was very, very different.